Hello, and welcome to Breadcrumbs, the podcast from WorkSync. Today's episode is all about strategies for financial wellness that you can implement for your employees. Our guest today is General Manager at Clair. Lance, would you introduce yourself to our audience?
Of course. Yeah, my name is Lance Katigbak. I'm the General Manager here at Clair, a financial wellness benefit company headquartered in New York City.
So Lance, tell me a little bit about who and what Clair is.
So yeah, Clair is a financial wellness company. We're headquartered in New York City, and the mission of the company is to provide financial freedom for America's workers. The way we do that is basically by creating a digital banking app that allows employees to get paid a portion of their wages every day after they clock out of work, completely for free. We've noticed that a lot of Americans, especially the 80 million or so who live paycheck to paycheck, often don't have great sources for credit that are easily accessible and that aren't going to charge them an arm and a leg. So we found that a lot of people, if they need some quick cash, often rely on sources like payday lenders, which are going to charge them sometimes upwards of 3, 4, 500% annual interest rates, which is just really expensive. Or they have to go and use a credit card that isn't like a credit card that many people have, but it's like a credit card that's going to charge them interest the same day they swipe, right? So they're paying interest the same day that they make that purchase. Or they go to family and friends, and it's never comfortable to approach family member or friend and say, hey, I need some extra cash. And so what we've done at Clair is provide a way to give these employees access to money that they've already worked for, right? They've earned it already. They've done the work. It's just that their employer hasn't run payroll yet. So we're able to give them access to that funds a lot faster so they can cover whatever it is that they might need.
So tell me about the situation in the United States. You sort of alluded to it. Can you talk a little bit about the situation for workers in the United States today?
Yeah. So I think there's a couple highlights to think through here. One of the big issues that we've seen is that the minimum wage has kind of remained the same for the last couple of decades, and a lot of people, frankly, just don't make enough money to make ends meet, right? So a lot of people are either working multiple jobs, or the jobs that they're working on are really pushing them to the limits. That's why we find that most people are living paycheck to paycheck. And I'm not just referring to people making, let's say, 40, 50, or $60,000 a year. But even those people who are making, up to $150,000 a year, there are those who are still living paycheck to paycheck for a variety of reasons. Really, what happens is a lot of people get trapped in a debt cycle where they have to keep borrowing money to pay off money that they had to borrow for something that really was never their fault to begin with. And this kind of debt cycle, this kind of financial situation, I think is really affecting tens of millions of Americans today. So I think that's kind of the first part of the situation. The second part, I think, is that there just aren't many good options available for credit for a lot of these workers. A lot of people in this situation, it's not like they can just go to a bank and ask for a low interest loan, right? Because banks are also, in many ways, banks generally tend to favor those with more money, right? So there's kind of a saying that it's very expensive to be poor, and the reality is that that's true. You miss your monthly maintaining balance requirement, and you're charged a fee. You overdraft, you're charged a $35 fee, right? There's all these kind of added costs and benefits that make it hard to get by when you already don't have that much to begin with. And so we often see that employers have a unique ability to help out here, right? And they have a unique ability to help their employees when it comes to saying, hey, I want you to be at your best so that you show up to work, productively, so that you're able to focus on the job. And so we think employers have a unique role to play in alleviating some of the financial stress that their employees have.
You talked a little bit about how employers can help to solve the problem. Can you tell me a little bit more of some things employers can do to help employees in these situations?
Yeah, I think the very first thing is that employers need to be aware that this is a problem. Need to accept that the situation outside of work affects our performance at work. I mean, we've all been there, right? If you're sick, you can't show up to work. If you're stressed, whether that's because of a financial situation or because of family situation, it's ultimately going to affect your performance at work. But one of the things that we've seen work really well, and this is at the core of our business model, is to really consider a holistic financial wellness solution. right? It's not so much as, kind of saying, hey, well, I'll give you this or I'll give you that, but it really involves thinking about the holistic financial well-being of the employee. And so basically what we find is that giving somebody access to free banking apps that are better suited for the kind of money they're making, that aren't going to charge them crazy fees. Honestly, sometimes they don't have features that they don't need, but just making it a bank account for them, I think is really important. So I think that's the first thing. And at Clair, our bank account that we provide them doesn't charge them higher hidden fees. It allows them free access to 40,000 ATMs. It's FDIC insured. And I think, most importantly, it has on-demand pay, right? Which is, I think that my second, the second area where employers can really get involved is to basically help employees get faster access to their pay. A lot of employers have done this by moving from a bi-weekly to a weekly payroll, so that employees are able to get access to that money, on a more frequent basis, which helps even out kind of the timing of expenses. But when companies find that kind of too challenging or too burdensome, another great solution is to be able to offer on-demand pay, or sometimes called an earned wage access benefit. And really, what that is it's partnering with a third-party company like Clair that will allow your employees to basically take advances on the money that they've already worked for but hasn't been paid out yet. So let's say you work 8 hours a day and you make $20 an hour. Today, your first day you make $160. When you partner with a company like Clair, you can actually get a portion of that $160 paid that very same day, and you can use that for gas, you can use that for grocery bills, you can use that for a flat tire, whatever it is that comes your way. Having access to the money that you've already worked for allows you to just meet some of these challenges head on. That's kind of the second piece that we consider is just providing those kind of benefits. I think the third thing, there's also a very big kind of financial wellness, financial education aspect to this, and making sure that employees are kept up to date in terms of like, hey, these are some of the newest tools you can use. Hey, tax season might be coming up. Here are access to, the best resources to file your taxes for free. Here are websites you can use to save some money. And actually, that's also something that we provide. Every employee or every user who uses Clair gets access to, this kind of content on financial wellness and financial education that really promotes kind of this continuous learning and not just being stuck in this kind of debt cycle. So I would say those are some of the things that employers can concretely do to address the financial wellness of their employees.
Lance, you talked a little bit about Clair. So all of our entire audience, our customer base at WorkSync and Attendance on Demand has access to Clair. So tell us a little bit about the Clair platform, and how it works, because I think there's still some demystifying about how financial wellness apps work in general.
Yeah, that's a great question. What's crazy is that, all WorkSync customers, all Attendance on Demand customers, all have the ability to get free access to Clair. That means that, whether you are, a large company with 10,000 employees, a smaller one with just 50, you have the ability to basically ask for Clair, and everything I just mentioned, the banking app, the on-demand pay, the financial education, all of that comes for free because you are already a WorkSync or Attendance on Demand customer. In terms of how Clair works, it's really simple. Step one is you turn it on, so you can reach out to your account manager to basically request for an integration or request for Clair to be switched on, and there's some basic setup that needs to be done. But after that, everything is pretty straightforward. Employees are just able to sign up for for Clair, and once they sign up, because we are connected to the Attendance on Demand and WorkSync systems, every day after an employee clocks out of work, we'll know how many hours that employee worked, and we'll allow them to take advances based on those earnings. Now, a lot of you are probably wondering, well, doesn't that mean I need to change my payroll? And the best part is there's actually no change to payroll. There's no integration needed to payroll. Because Clair is a bank account, the main way that you kind of connect Clair to payroll is really just via direct deposit. So as long as an employee says, okay, I want to use Clair, I'm going to go and set up my direct deposit so that $500 every pay period goes to my Clair account. that's enough. That's all they need to do in order to become eligible to take wage advances every day. So they take advances when they need them, and then when payday comes, they get a paycheck onto their Clair account. Clair will collect back any money that they already advanced, and then the employee can kind of continue, borrowing money as needed. It's a really simple process, and one that many businesses, whether they've got 10 employees or 10,000, have been able to implement and integrate, in literally a couple of hours, if not a couple of days.
So some of our mutual clients have really enjoyed having access to Clair. Can you give me any stories or feedback that you've received from our clients about how it's going?
Yeah, for sure. A lot of clients are extremely happy, especially because they hear the stories firsthand from their employees. We have a shared client that I remember was telling us that employees would approach him and basically say, "Hey, you know what? Instead of having to fill up a half tank of gas, I'm now able to fill up my full tank of gas, and I don't need to wait for the next payday to fill up the second half, or I can now buy a full load of groceries." Instead of having to break up my grocery purchases depending on kind of my pay cycle. So those are some examples, at least from a recent one that I've heard. We had another client who was telling us, you know what, as soon as I started to advertise in my job descriptions that that you could get paid same day, we now started to see just a higher number and a higher quality of job applications. The last thing we saw, which I think was really interesting, we did a study and found out those employees that use Clair are picking up more shifts and are working on average 15% more than those employees who aren't on Clair. So in this kind of labor shortage, when we've heard that there are some employers that are finding it really hard to attract and retain talent, having a solution like Clair allows you to basically do almost no work, but automatically get some employees more eager to pick up more shifts and fill those slots that maybe other employees did not want to show up for because they know they have the guarantee of getting their money right after they finish work.
Lance, there are many companies providing similar services. Can you tell me how Clair is different?
I think the first thing, Kim, is that Clair is already integrated into attendance on demand and WorkSync. You don't have to think about that. I think that's the first thing. It's already there. You kind of just need to turn it on. The second thing is that among all the wage advance companies or on-demand payment companies, and most of them actually charge employees fees every time they take an advance. They're charging $2, $3, $4 every single time an employee takes out money, and we think that's just not fair. That's why Clair wage advances are always free. Instead, we are able to give this free for the employees to take the advances. And it's free for the employers as well. We don't charge the employer any fee. There are some fees for, like if you withdraw from an ATM that's not in our free ATM network, there's a fee for that, for example. But in general, most things are free. And the reason we do that is because we're actually able to make money when employees spend their paycheck, right? They spend their paycheck using our debit card, and we're able to make money from that transaction, not by charging the employees, but by charging the merchants. And that's a common business model in the banking space. And so using this innovative business model, we're able to provide a service to employees in a way that is unique, and it's actually better for the employees and much friendlier to them compared to some of the other solutions out there. I think the last difference is that most other companies, if not all, actually put the burden of repayment on the employer. That means that you're going to have to set up wage deductions. That means you're going to have to set up, a flow of funds that sends money from you as the employer to the on-demand pay company. And really, that's just another headache. You have too many things to think about, and trying to figure out how to set up money to move in other ways is just not one of those things, especially when there are solutions that exist that don't require that and that allow you to just have the employees take the advances, have the employees pay back, all without requiring any additional work on your end. So I think that, Kim, those are some of the ways that we try to be different.
Are there any parting words you want to leave with our audience about your business or the people who use your app today?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, the reason why we do everything we do is really to help the American worker. I think what's important is to recognize that the problem does exist, but I think this is really just about doing the right thing for, people who are hardworking, who are really, the cornerstone of most businesses today. And so thinking about that and making sure that they feel financially cared for, I think is just a really important thing.
I agree. Thanks for being here, Lance. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Kim.